Hello all you wonderful DayZ people. Welcome to my YouTube channel. My name is Trader Yen. For those of you that don't know, I'm a shopkeeper in DayZ on Sunnyvale 12, Deer Isle. I want to give a special shout out to all my Sunnyvale family and an extra special thank you to Cyanotic for running the Sunnyvale servers and allowing us to make these videos for everyone. Today we are going to be learning how to set up bees in DayZ. I'm here at my sister's apiary bee farm, and yeah, she's going to be showing us how to do some of the steps. First of all, what you want to do is get a sledgehammer.
Yeah, counterintuitively, the first thing you need to get bees, a hammer. Huh?
Sledgehammers are more expensive. The Silkum Slammer is a cheaper option. You can buy these at the weapons trader under melee. You're going to go through quite a few of them, so you want to buy a lot of them. I bought 10 specifically for this video just in case. You do not need a bee suit in order to harvest the bee traps. You can just go to any tree that can be potentially turned into logs. Like if you have a hatchet out, you can see this is firewood. That's firewood. Aha, that's a log. So if you have a slammer or a sledgehammer in your hand, it'll turn into search bee trap, just like that. So you want to start smashing that tree.
It bears mentioning that if you are interested in beekeeping in real life, do not look for bees this way. Even if you find a swarm that's looking for a new hive that's full of honey and not likely to sting you, what you're more likely to find is a hive that already exists in the tree and is going to be very mad about you hitting it with a hammer. So don't look for bees this way.
Yes, this is a video game. This is not real life. Don't try this in real life. All right, so you'll notice that it did take a couple of hits, but once you start to hear those bees buzzing, you know you got a trap. You can just put that right in your inventory.
You already find one.
Yeah, I found one.
Lucky, lucky. It's a 10% chance. Anytime you attempt, it's a 10% chance to actually find one. So it could take you a long time. And that's why I never buy any less than 5 hammers at a time, because
Correct.
they break fast.
Yeah, I actually managed to do it without ruining this hammer. So I could actually smack a couple more if I wanted to. But
I'm
we have a
gonna,
couple of bee traps on hand, so we don't need to go much
yeah.
further into that. You do want to collect more than one bee trap because you only have a 50% success rate of the bees actually staying in the hive that you're adding it to. Now at this point, if you wanted to go ahead and set up your hive, you go where you want to set it up and then set it up. I'm going to show you something though. If you're not wearing a bee suit, you're going to start bleeding out. So you want to make sure that you got that bee suit going, otherwise you're going to have a bad day.
It's a good idea if you plan on setting up multiple hives to have a medical cabinet with bandages. Um, I do bandages and epinephrine. The epinephrine's just, I guess, a little role play thing for, people who'd be allergic to bee stings. I'm just silly that way. And I leave mine publicly open. It's only been completely rated like once. But most people are nice enough to just leave it there. So that way, if somebody happens to run through my hives, they can bandage themselves. Um, I try to put my apiary on this island out in the middle of nowhere, so that doesn't happen. When I was on the mainland, people would actually intentionally take their armor off and run the gauntlet through my beehives for a drunken dare or something. Don't do that, please.
Mhm. All right, so what I like to do is set up a mannequin or a locker that just has my bee stuff so that I can quickly change in and out of my clothing. Um, You can get all beekeeper items for this. You absolutely have to have the hat. But you can also switch out if you don't like all white. You can switch out to NBC gear. It also works. I have NBC gloves that I'm using instead of the beekeeper gloves as an example. But you have to have this hat because the NBC hood does not work. All of these items are currently purchasable at the hunting trader at Julian's or Bubbles. They can also be looted. So if you don't want to have to buy them, you can go looting for them. Now that I have my full bee suit on, I will not get stung. Another way to not get stung is actually to use a bee smoker, but the bee smoker takes more maintenance. You're going to have to constantly be catching it on fire and using it. Um, and it's just more time effective and worthwhile to just get the full suit and not have to deal with the bee smoker. Um, so I've got a nice little spot right here. I'm going to set up this hive. Okay. So when you open the beehive, you'll be able to see the different spots. You'll see that right at the start, there's honeycomb frames. We're going to have to craft those and get those installed before we try to insert a bee trap. So those just require some planks and nails. Go ahead and put the planks in your hand, grab the nails, and make sure you're using your mouse wheel to scroll to honeycomb frame. Otherwise, you'll end up making a wooden crate, and that's not what we're after.
Yeah, am completely embarrassed by how many times I've actually accidentally made a wooden crate when I wasn't paying attention. Um, I'll say though, it's not unuseful if you happen to accidentally make a wooden crate because those are vanilla storage, and that will be important in a moment.
All right, so we're making, speaking of wooden crates, I just crafted one. All
Gotta
right,
get that out
so
of the way.
make sure you're using your mouse wheel to make a honeycomb and not a wooden crate. All right, and we have our 3 frames. We're going to go ahead and insert those into the honeycomb frame slots, and we're going to let that cook. It takes about an hour for a honeycomb to fill up, and sometimes it takes a restart. You'll wait for the restart, and then it'll be an hour before the honeycomb will fill up.
So be patient.
Be patient. Haha. All right, and then once we've got those frames in place, we're going to go ahead and try to add this beehive. If the bee buzzing does get on your nerves, this may not be the profession for you.
That's true.
All right, so you'll know that notice the bees just kind of started swarming all around. You'll know in just a few seconds, really, whether they took or not. They'll disappear if they didn't, and they'll stick around if they did. Looks like this beehive is okay.
Yep, looks like your luck's holding out. Yeah, get these extra bee traps out of your way then.
Here, you could take this one too.
Yep.
All right, so we have an operational beehive. I'm going to go to one of these other beehives though, because they're going to have some filled frames on them. So once you've waited the allotted amount of time and have some honey, you'll see that you notice the difference, blank frame versus full yellow frame. You're going to go ahead and drag that down to the slot here under honey crafting. Grab your spatula and then mouse over and get honeycomb. Okay, put the frame back in, put the next frame into the slot, and do it again. You're going to need 3 honeycombs to process the honey in the honey pot. All right. Once you have 3 combs, you can grab an empty honeycomb pot. Go ahead and disinfect this pot. Add that honeycomb to it. Once the honeycomb's been added, you can add it back to the honey crafting slot. Put the honeycomb dipper in your hand, mouse over, and it'll give you the option to make honey. Okay. I'm going to go ahead and process this other one too while we're at it. All right. So once this honey is made, I mean, you could drink it directly from this pot if you wanted to. It would give you a food, water, and a health boost. Or you can empty it out into an empty honey jar and sell that to Trader for $30K. Or you can put it into a jerry can. You can use this as food and water on the go as well. You can put these into canteens and carry the canteens around with you. You can generally fill 2 canteens with each honey pot. A jerry can will hold 20 canteens worth of honey. Or if you're really going big with it, mass production like Glitch does, see all these these beehives and everything, then you can actually store it in a barrel. You can just pour it right into the barrel. Have this barrel on our mule here so that we can VG it. The honey will stay, and then you can refill your canteens on the go as long as you're near a VG.
We call it the honey mule. Really a fun little cute name for it.
All right. So the next step is actually making honey wine, which we need an empty bottle for, and the only empty bottle I have is about to be this one, so I'm going to drink this.
Luckily for you, honey wine doesn't actually get you intoxicated. Now, I'll mention in order for it to work for you to pour your honey into jerry cans and bottles, it does depend on a mod called Liquid Framework. So if you're not playing on Sunnyvale 12 and your server doesn't have Liquid Framework, that won't work. You'll be able to pour it into jars, and you'll be able to fill a honey glass with it, but it won't have quite the same use. It's still good food out of the honey jar, but you won't be able to drink it directly from a canteen or a jerry can.
I'm going to go ahead and let Glitch explain through the honey wine stuff. I will do what she tells me to do. I'm just not as familiar with that, so I'm going to let her go through that.
All right. So first things first. This is time dependent because you're going to be using a test tube of hot water, and if the water cools off before you finish, it will fail. So what you want to do first is set up your beehive kit. You'll want to put 1 honeycomb each on the honey and water row of the hive kit. So there's one in each of the slots there. It will hold up to 3, but it will use the whole stack when you make it. So you'd be making your honey wine with 6 honeycomb instead of 2. And it doesn't give you any better or any extra honey wine that way. It just wastes the extra comb. So only put 1 in each. And then you want to take your honey pot and sterilize that again and put that into the honey pot slot on the same row. All
Okay.
right. Now, once you've got all that, you can take your test tube and fill it up with water. I've got a convenient water barrel next to my gazebo fire pit. Why can I not light this fire? Oh, because it doesn't have kindling. Yikes. I know how to start a fire. I'm a DayZ expert. Your test tubes can be found as loot anywhere where you can also find a honey jar or a honey wine jar bottle. You'll want to put that once your fire started into the cooking slots. The walkthrough on the mod will tell you to heat it to 200 Celsius. I'm bound to point out that's incorrect. Because once it gets up to 100 Celsius, it'll start boiling and it'll stay there until it's all evaporated. So you won't ever have a test tube of this shape with liquid water in it at 200 degrees C. But what you do want to do is listen for it to start bubbling, and that'll mean it's boiling, and that means it's ready. So once it turns red, you're not there yet. You do listen for the bubbles. All right, I hear them now. Now, some of the water will have boiled off while it was bubbling, so you'll want to refill it at the barrel and then bring it back to the beehive. All right, and now once it's in place, you can use your honey dipper to mix the honey wine. All right, and just like good DayZ beekeepers, we drop all of our new products on the floor. And so there it is. You'll take that, put it into the fill honey wine slot of the hive kit. And once it's there, you'll be able to take your honey wine bottle and use that on that that honey water filled pot to fill the bottle. Now, the mod instructions will also tell you to sterilize your honey wine bottle. You don't need to do that. It'll tell you to sterilize your test tube. You don't need to do that because when you're boiling water in the test tube, it's already become sterilized.
All right, we have our honey wine. So you'll notice that the bottle did go to worn. That's because we did use this bottle twice, or sometimes when you're finding the bottles out in the world, they're not at full strength, they're not at full health. So sometimes that does happen. At Pristine, you can sell a honey wine bottle for 55K. At Warren, unfortunately, it'll only sell for 40. Both the honey wine bottle and the honey jar can be sold at the hunting trader.
Now, a neat trick that I like to do is if my pristine honey wine bottle turns to worn, it can be used at least one more time to make honey wine and still be worn, and it won't degrade to damaged after one extra use. So what I'll do is I'll take the honey wine out of it and pour it into something else, and then make honey wine with it again and sell that one. And then next time I find a bottle, I don't have to risk it degrading. I can just pour the wine that I saved into the new one and sell that.
As nice as it is to use the canteens for this, I don't think that the health buff carries over. So if I
Right.
were to put this honey wine into my canteen, I know it sounds like I'm pouring it out, but I'm not, promise. it does not give me that health boost drinking it out of the canteen.
Um, if you really like to get the antibiotic boost out of drinking your honey, that's another good use for the jar because it doesn't take up as much space as a honey pot. It takes up a little bit more space than a canteen, but it holds 2 canteens worth of honey. So maybe don't sell your honey jar. Keep it on hand to use as a canteen on the go, and it will give you an antibiotic boost whenever you drink your honey.
And as the honey wine bottles and the honey jars are find only, it may be hard to turn a profit by just using those. However, most of the populace, at least here on 12 and some of the other Sunnyvale servers, have noticed that, hey, this is a good source of food. They're willing to pay 75, 80K per jerry can, or even 750K or 800K for a barrel. So you can sell them on P2P or just tell people, hey, I've got honey to sell, and there'll be plenty of people that are like, yeah, okay, I'll buy that from you. I'll even buy jerry cans of honey at my shop if you guys ever want to sell some there. But yeah, that is how to set up your beehives and how to make honey in DayZ. I hope you guys enjoyed this content. If you have any questions or comments, go ahead and put that down in the comments below. And if you want to see more, just let me know what you'd like to see. I'm planning on doing a couple more tutorial videos, and then I'm hoping to do some just shop life videos. Um, but yeah, make sure you hit that like and subscribe button, and I guess we will see you guys next time.
See you next time.